And now I call on the Honourable Reginald Austrie, Minister for Lands, Housing, Settlements and Water Resource Management, who is also most enthusiastic about water and represents water all over Dominica exceedingly well. Mr. Oman.
Let me recognize the presence of the Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, Member for Parliament for this constituency, Kelvedaro, other ministers of government. I recognize Minister Shillingford, Minister Darrow, that's the other Darrow, Ambrose George, Financial Secretary, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Housing, Chairman of the Board of the WASCO, General Manager and Senior Member of Staff of the WASCO, Mrs. Alport or SAO, our dear friend who said this beautiful prayer for us, principal, staff and students of the Bells Government School, ladies and gentlemen of Bells, Glogomir, Penrice and the surrounding areas. This week has been a very busy week for the Ministry of Housing, particularly as it relates to water. On Tuesday last week, we were in Point Michel signing the contract, $700,000 for the extension of the Point Michel water supply. On Thursday, we were in Scotshead, signed a contract of $1.6 million for the Savon water supply. Today, we are here in Bells, launching a $4.6 million project. If I was in the opposition, I would say, well, the election is really around the corner. Because with the spirit of launchings and signing, there must be something big behind it. But I want to say to you that the journey has just begun. Because we've not done Granfor yet. We have to do the commissioning of the water project in Granfor. We have to do Antrim and a couple more areas that is still left to be done. But to say to the people of Bells and the people of Dominica that this is not an election gimmick, this is the real thing. And I'm sure that in the past you've heard on numerous occasions that Bells was going to get water. Bells will get its water. But the water never came. Only the rains came. But the water itself never came. Now, water is in Dominica right now, is a very expensive commodity, a very expensive investment, and an investment where there is very little financial returns. And in difficult times, the government has had to raise millions of dollars to ensure that the people of Dominica would enjoy the best water at their homes. Because there have always been the rivers. In fact, there was a big debate yesterday whether we really had 365 rivers and whether we still have 365 rivers. But you don't go to the river to get the water. We have to take the water to your homes. And the Prime Minister was just noticing the amount of money we have to spend just to get to the source of the water. In fact, the cost of the road sometimes exceeds the cost of the water project itself. And this is being done at tremendous sacrifice, at tremendous cost. In fact, I've heard that the reason why Bells have not had the water yet is because Bells was too small a community to spend that kind of money to bring water to a small community where you have several streams and rivers. But we in this government, we consider every single Dominican to be equal. Every community to be equal. And it doesn't matter your size or your population. But once we see the need is necessary, whether it's in housing, whether it's in water, whether it's in the allocation of lands, in education, in healthcare, we will take it to the people. And so for me today, I want to share in your joy, I want to share in your happiness, and I want to share in the comfort that your water is really on its way. And like your parliament said, this is not a signing ceremony, because you can sign a contract today and work never starts until next year. But today is the project launching. And I'm sure as you drive closer to Poncasset, you can see this massive concrete structure. It has started, and that is where your storage tank is going to go. And I'm not sure whether the pipes have been brought to Bells, but I've been advised that we now have, although we have pipes on order, but we now have sufficient pipes on island that we can begin tomorrow and continue to ensure that by the end of next year, June, I think, when that water project will be complete, you will be having your potable water. Our record, like I said, goes back a long way, and I don't want to take it from 2000, because I have 2 books of what we've spent on water in front of me, and to read it all, we'll be here all night tonight reading what we've done for water. But to say to you that by the end of 2012, we had already spent $180 million in the provision of potable water to the people of Dominica. And that probably is one of the biggest expenditure items on this government's agenda in terms of money spent on a particular project. And between 2013 and 2014, we've spent some $16 million, which takes us up to pretty close to $200 million that this government has spent in bringing potable water to the people of Dominica. And like I said on many occasions, to recover the cost of that investment at the present rate will take us 100 years to recover the cost of that investment. And if we have to do it in any shorter period, it means that we'll have to increase your rate of rate by 10 times what you're already paying right now. And this government has no intention of increasing the water rates on the backs of the people of Bells or the backs of the people of Dominica in a hurry. And so you can well appreciate the tremendous sacrifice that we have made in terms of the provision of potable water. As you heard from Magnus Williams, you are being served here from small individual water systems which compromise the quality and the consistency of water. Now, if you listen and you look at the news and you watch what's happening in the rest of the world, you will better appreciate the benefit of having clean and potable water. I mean, the chikungunya disease, which we're now experiencing, it's as a result of inadequate water in certain areas and the stagnant where the mosquitoes breed in those conditions, and thus, and the pit latrines, to which we can talk about if we have the time tonight, the effect that has had on the spread of the chikungunya in our community. And so the importance of water cannot be underestimated or overestimated. This project, we already say, will cost some $4.6 million. It's divided into 2 lots, lots 1 and 2. Lot 1 and 2, lot 1 is costing us some $2.69 million, and lot 2 is costing us some $1.85 million. The 2 contractors who won the bids, and we went through an open tender process, where we had a number of contractors who bid on the project, and the 2 that were selected, they won the bids, and that is Edgar Robinson and Associates doing lot 1 and 2, and Caribbean Concrete doing lot number 2. The project, like I said, will be completed in June of next year, and instructions have already been given by the Minister of Finance to extend that water to Sylvania and Penrice and Lyo Park, and that will cost an additional $1.7 million. So by the time we're done with this water from here going back to Lyo Park, we will have spent some $6.3 million on that project, hoping that we have no cost overruns on the project, which sometimes raises the level of the investment. So I believe that the people of Bells, you have a lot to celebrate as far as water is concerned. But not only that, the representation that you have received from Kelva Darrow is unmatched and unchallenged by any other PAL rep that you have seen in this constituency or in this village, in this community. In fact, sometimes I think Kelva becoming a pest, because I can't step in cabinet before Kelva asks me in cabinet, Reggie, what about the water for Bells? And I say, Kelva, well, why you don't come to my office and ask me about the water for Bells? He said, no, I want everybody to hear me asking you for the water for Bells. So the first item on the agenda in cabinet was, when are we going to start the Bells water supply? And I said, Kelva, just chill out. I have to find $4.6 million. And the FS knows how many times I harassed her for the 4.6 million for the Bells water supply. And today really is an achievement and the success of Kelva Daru as your parliamentary representative and what he has been able to do to transform this small community of Bells and the St. Joseph constituency. I want to say to you that while today we focus on water, and I don't want to let Kelva cat out of the bag, but he didn't tell you, but I'll tell you that just recently, last week, $350,000 was approved for housing for this constituency. And I know a number of you from Bells have been coming to me and asking about housing assistance. And I ask you to be patient because the government has plans for you and for housing. And so I would expect maybe in the next couple of weeks, you will be receiving your fair allocation of building materials, and so you can continue to assist in improving your home. Because water and house go almost together. Because unless you can bring the water into your home, so the pipes passing across the street in Bells is of no value to you unless you can take the water into your homes. But you must have homes in which you take the water to. So that's why I'm saying that there's a partnership and a marriage between water and housing. But more importantly, between water and washrooms. And we call it toilet, call it privy, call it what you want. But the washroom is another very important component of the housing revolution as it seeks to increase the sanitation aspect and thus the standard of living and the health of the people of Bells. And that is why recently the Prime Minister has launched what we call the War on Pit Latrines. And I know in areas like Bells, we probably have or had several pit latrines. And I know it's a disgust for all of you who have pit latrines. It is in fact a disgust for you. But under the housing revolution, under the war against pit latrines, very shortly we can say pit latrines will only be written in the history books of Dominica, but not in practical terms. And so with this water supply, this water system now being launched here in Bells will bring overall development to the people of Bells and the surrounding communities. I want to say to you that we ask you for nothing in return. Just pay your water bills and all will be fine. But I have known that the people of Bells are a very grateful people. And the people of Bells return gratitude where gratitude is due and when gratitude is due. And I understand that Dimitri starts talking. He starts saying, Mama and Papa. He starts saying little things now. But remember, he's holding for us a very big secret. And the faster he talks is the quicker we know what secret that is. But I want to say to you that when that secret is released, we will not have to come back here to Bells to ask you to be grateful to us. It is a natural thing for the people of Bells to be grateful. And at the appropriate time, I'm sure that we will show your gratitude to this government. Not only for the water that we have brought to you, but for all the rest of the development that we have brought. In fact, I remember in Parliament, when Norris Prevost said that the people of Bells, he would not never build that road in Bells because the people of Bells does not deserve to have that road. Bells is so small. So he would have gone to the Carib territory, he said, and he would have gone back to Portsmouth, but Bells did not deserve the investment. And today I can tell you that the transformation of Bells is being led by this beautiful highway that you now have. That Dominicans have good reasons for coming to Bells, but we probably could not come to Bells because of the state and the condition of the roads. And you will understand too that this road has been a challenge for the contractors. It has been a challenge for the government because of your numerous waterways and the abundance of volumes of water that you have had in this part. But we have persevered. And although you may want to say that project has been behind, but you may well understand why is it that we had to face those challenges and still end up with one of the most beautiful highways in Dominica, passing right to the community of Bells. And I want to urge you, the people of Bells, to take advantage of those investments to ensure that you can better your life and better your livelihood. In agriculture, in tourism, in small business enterprise, you now have what it takes to plan your future and to plan the future of yourselves and of your families in time to come. So once again, On behalf of the WASCO, I really need to thank the WASCO for the tremendous efforts that they have been making in terms of bringing water to those communities, particularly here in Bells, where the resources were very scarce, very hard to come by, and we really had to knock our heads to find the money and to justify the project. To the Minister of Finance, I must say, Prime Minister, thank you so very much for making my job so easy by making the resources available so we can take water all across the country to the people of Dominica. The FS, we have had our bouncing ups and bouncing downs, but I know you two were a very integral part of identifying the source of funding that we could use to do all the water projects all across the country. To the Permanent Secretary in Housing, his senior members of staff, we've all worked very, very hard to ensure that this project is in fact executed. And we work even harder to ensure that it's executed on time and in time and before time. So I want to say to you, let's enjoy it, let's appreciate it, but let us not waste it. Let us see how long it took us to have it. And let us understand that in Dominica, water is in fact, while we say we have 365 rivers, but it's in fact all over the world a very scarce resource. In fact, the number of persons, while we're seeking to attain 100% of potable water next year to our communities, some countries are only hoping that they can do 50%. And there are countries in the world who wish that they had just one. They'll be very grateful for just one of our 365 rivers. So let's not take it for granted. Let's take care of the water systems. Let's use it, but not abuse it. May God continue to bless our community. May God continue to bless our country. But more importantly, may God continue to bless a government that continues to put people first and continue to bring true and meaningful development to its citizens. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Thank you very, very much, Honourable Reginald Austrie. And let's say another round of applause for Honourable Reginald Austrie. A man whose enthusiasm is without bounds for water, housing, and everything that he brings to different communities. Thank you, Mr. Austrie.